Okay, picture this. You're on a long drive. Hour 2. The radio's gone from good song to why is this commercial 4 minutes long? And your brain, completely uninvited, decides this is the moment to start doing retirement math. No calculator, no spreadsheet, just vibes and mental subtraction at 70 miles an hour. How many working years do I actually have left? How much is even in that account right now? And then, like clockwork, the number shows up. The one everyone throws around like it's some magic password, $1 million. And you sit there thinking, is that actually enough? Is it even possible for someone like me? Or is it just a number people say because it sounds nice on a podcast? If you've ever had that exact spiral on a road trip, congratulations, you're going to actually get an answer today. Real numbers, no fluff. By the end of this, you'll know exactly how a normal income turns into $1 million and what that $1 million actually pays you once it's sitting there. Let's get started. First, let's get one thing out of the way because it trips people up constantly. $1 million is not something you save the way you save for, like, a vacation. You're not just stacking dollar bills in a shoebox until you hit 7 figures. Please do not do that. Your house will smell like old money, literally. You mostly grow this number. And growth only needs 2 things to actually show up to work, time, and a contribution that shows up every single month like clockwork, rain or shine, good mood or bad. That relationship, time plus consistency, is basically the whole video. Everything else is just details. So here's the engine. And once you see how it works, you're going to feel a little bit like you've been let in on a secret because honestly, you have. Money invested in a normal mix of stocks, nothing fancy, has historically returned around 7% a year after inflation over long stretches. At 7%, your money roughly doubles every 10 years, just sitting there, doubling, while you're at work complaining about the printer. That's not a sales pitch. That's just what compounding does if you stop poking at it. So the real question isn't, can I get to $1 million? It's, how much do I need to feed this thing every month to let it actually do its job? Let's run real numbers, because vague hype like, just invest, bro, has never helped anyone sleep at night. Someone who starts investing $500 a month at 25, drops it into a broad index fund, and basically forgets about it, no bonus contributions, no lottery win, just that same $500 every month like a subscription you forgot to cancel, except this one's actually good for you, crosses $1 million by around age 60, just from time and consistency. Now stretch that same $500 a month to 65 instead of 60, just 5 extra years, and the number doesn't creep up, it kind of explodes, because the very last stretch of compounding on a big balance adds more than the first 2 decades combined. Wild, right? That's just how exponential growth behaves in its final act. It's basically the season finale of your money's life, and it goes hard. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, cool, but I'm not 25, I am extremely seasoned. Let's be honest about that math too, because you deserve real numbers, not guilt. Start at 35 instead of 25. You've lost a full decade of compounding. So, to land in the same spot by 65, you're looking at closer to $900 a month instead of $500. Start at 45, only 20 years left on the clock, you're closer to $1,700 a month. The number gets steeper the later you start, not because the universe is punishing you, just because you're asking the same engine to do the same amount of work with less time on the runway. That's it. That's the whole reason. So if you're starting later, this isn't a doom and gloom give up moment. It's a, here's your actual number. Now let's go find it in your budget moment. And that's the part nobody likes to talk about. Where does that monthly chunk of money actually come from? Because telling someone, just invest $1,700 a month without explaining how is basically as useful as telling someone to just be taller. The trick, and it really is just one trick wearing a lot of different outfits, is to stop letting your spending sprint to catch up every time your income goes up. You get a raise, and 90% of people, completely unconsciously, let their life quietly get a little more expensive to match it. New phone, slightly nicer apartment, suddenly you're getting the guac every time. No judgment, guac is delicious, but it adds up. Instead, when that raise lands, you redirect it straight into the investment account before your brain even has time to get attached to it. Bonus shows up. Instead of becoming a treat-yourself weekend, it becomes another brick in the wall you're building. You don't need to live like a monk on rice and silence for this to work. You just need to know what your life actually costs to run and hold that line while your income climbs above it. That gap, the space between what you earn and what you spend, that's not a side detail. That's literally the fuel. Oh, and quick thing that drives me a little crazy because so many people skip it for no reason. If your job offers an employer match on your retirement account, that is free money. Not kind of a good deal, free money, actual, literal, they are handing you cash free money. Skipping that is like a vending machine giving you 2 snacks for the price of 1 and you walking away with just the 1. Take the second snack. Take the match. And on top of that, tax-advantaged accounts let your money grow without taxes nibbling at it every single year. So, more of that 7% actually stays in the account compounding for you instead of leaking out the side. None of this changes the core math, it just makes the climb noticeably faster for the exact same amount of effort. Okay, so that's the climb. Now let's talk about the part that actually matters once you're standing at the top of the mountain, because here's a plot twist. Getting to $1 million is not actually the finish line. It's just the moment the math changes shape. And this next number is genuinely the most important figure in this entire video, so lean in for this one, 4%. Years ago, a financial advisor sat down and asked a deceptively simple question. If someone retires with a portfolio split between stocks and bonds, how much can they pull out every year, adjusted for inflation, without ever running the account dry, even if they retire right into a brutal market? He tested it against the worst stretches in history, the 1920s, 1970s, all the ugly years, and the number that survived almost every single one of them was right around 4% of the starting balance, withdrawn annually with small increases for inflation after that. In plain numbers, 4% of $1 million is $40,000 a year, around $3,300 a month, basically forever, without draining the account before you do. And here's why that actually works, and isn't just some guy's guess. The portfolio is still earning around 7% a year while you're only pulling out 4. That leftover gap keeps compounding quietly in the background even while you're living off the rest of it. Good years, the account might grow even while you're spending from it. Bad years, it dips. Over a long retirement, those years tend to even out, and 4% is specifically the number built to survive that wobble. But, and this is important, $40,000 a year is a starting point, not the whole story. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise just to wrap this up neatly. Where you live changes everything about how that number feels. $40,000 in a lower cost area can feel genuinely comfortable. In a big expensive city, it can feel like you're constantly doing math in the grocery store. And most people forget Social Security exists in this conversation, which, fair, the government does not exactly make it easy to understand. But depending on your earnings history and when you claim it, it can add another $1,500 to $3,000 a month on top. Combine the two, and a lot of retirees are realistically looking at $60,000 to $70,000 a year total, not just the $40,000 from the portfolio alone. One more honest wrinkle before we wrap up, because I promised real math, not the cute version. The order bad market years show up in actually matters. 2 people can retire with the exact same average return over 30 years, but if one of them hits a brutal market right at the start of retirement, before the portfolios had any time to build a cushion, that timing alone can change the entire outcome, even with identical long-term averages. Which is exactly why a lot of retirees keep some cash on the side. Specifically so a rough year doesn't force them to sell investments at the worst possible moment just to cover groceries. So here's the whole thing stitched together, climb and payoff, in one breath. $1 million gets built through a specific knowable monthly number, somewhere between $500 and $1,700 depending on when you start, fed by an income that refuses to let lifestyle creep eat every raise, boosted by an employer match and tax-sheltered growth wherever it's available. Once that million exists, it turns into roughly $40,000 a year on autopilot, stacks with Social Security into something closer to $60,000 or $70,000 combined, and survives decades of retirement as long as there's a buffer for the years the market decides to test you early. $1 million was never some mysterious club for people who got a head start. It's a specific monthly number, multiplied by enough patience, that eventually turns into a specific monthly paycheck for the rest of your life. The math was always knowable, start to finish. Most people just never sat down and actually walked the whole thing through. Now you have. So next time your brain starts doing retirement math on a long drive, it'll actually have a real answer waiting for it, instead of just a vibe and a headache. If this opened your eyes even a little, or made a number that used to feel impossible, feel actually reachable, that's exactly why I'm making these videos. This channel is still tiny and just getting started, so if you've got 2 seconds, hitting subscribe genuinely helps us get to our first 1,000, and it means a lot more than the button makes it look. Thank you for sticking around to the end, truly. And if you want to keep going, the next video's right there on your screen, so I'll see you in there.